A woman from Princeton in Collin County was found dead in a vehicle following a police chase and shooting near St. Louis, Missouri. Princeton police say they first went to a home on Winding Meadow Road early yesterday morning for a structure fire. Family members reported 30-year-old Delicia Evans, who lived at the home, was missing.
Sometimes the most heartbreaking stories begin with the people who appear to have it all together. A woman with beauty, intelligence, and ambition. A mother who poured her soul into raising her daughters. A daughter who made her family proud. A businesswoman who turned her dreams into reality. Her name was Delicia Evans, a woman full of life, laughter, and plans for the future. But behind the smiles, behind the vacations, and behind the thriving businesses, there was a shadow. A shadow that would eventually grow darker, more dangerous, and impossible to escape. Delicia believed in second chances. She believed people could change, that even the most broken soul deserved compassion. But compassion can sometimes be a trap. And for Delicia, that belief became the very thing that led her into the arms of a man who would ultimately destroy everything. This is not just the story of a crime. It's the story of how love can turn into obsession, how trust can turn into betrayal, and how the warnings of those who love us most can sometimes be ignored, until it's too late. And here's the part that will chill you the most. By the time police finally caught up to Delicia's ex-boyfriend Ryan Phillips, it was already over. She was gone, and the world would soon learn the devastating truth about what had happened in the days before her disappearance. But before we get into that deadly chase, before the smoke and the sirens, we need to go back to the beginning. To the woman Delicia really was, to the family she came from, to the dreams she worked so hard to build. Because only when we understand how bright her light truly was, can we begin to grasp the darkness that tried to snuff it out. Hi guys, grab a cup of coffee and settle in for this thrilling true crime story. I'd love to know where you're watching this video from. Let me know in the comments. Don't hesitate to join the conversation too. Your thoughts and input are a vital part of this story. Welcome to 24/7 True Crime Chronicles, where all our stories are based on true crimes. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn on the notification bell icon so you won't miss any of our newest stories. Let's continue the story. Delicia was born on October 13th, 1991 in St. Louis, Missouri. From the very beginning, she was surrounded by a family that loved her deeply. Her mother, Retta Graves, and her father, Delicia Evans, raised her with the values of resilience, compassion, and determination. They knew from an early age that Delicia wasn't just another child. She was different. She carried a spark that drew people toward her. As she grew, that spark only intensified. Friends and family described her as the life of the party, a woman who could light up any room with her laughter. But beyond her social energy, Delicia had something else, a strength of character that made her stand out. She was kind, forgiving, and always ready to help someone in need, whether it was emotional support or financial advice. But perhaps Delicia's proudest role was being a mother. She had two daughters, Demaya and Delia, her pride and joy. To the outside world, these girls weren't just her children, they were her purpose. Everything she worked for, everything she built, was for them. Friends often said that no matter how busy Delicia was with her businesses or social life, she always made time for her daughters. She wanted them to see the world, to experience joy, and to know they were deeply loved. Her daughters weren't the only ones inspired by her drive. To her wider family and friends, Delicia was a motivator. She proved that no matter your background, you could rise, create something of your own, and succeed. She didn't wait for opportunities to fall into her lap. She went out and made them happen. But what made Delicia even more remarkable was how she balanced her ambition with generosity. It wasn't enough for her to succeed. She wanted others to succeed with her. She had a natural instinct for lifting people up, giving advice, or sharing resources. Many remember her as the person you could call when your back was against the wall, and she would always find a way to help. Yet behind this glowing portrait of family and love, Delicia also carried struggles that she didn't always show to the world. Like many strong women, she learned how to hide pain behind a smile, how to put her best face forward even when life was less than perfect. And as she entered adulthood, those hidden struggles would become more complicated. Because Delicia wasn't just a mother and daughter. She was also a dreamer. She was about to build a life for herself that would be bigger than anyone expected. A life full of success, opportunity, and adventure. But it was within that success and the choices that came with it that her path would one day cross with someone who would take everything away. As Delicia stepped into adulthood, she wasn't content with just surviving. She wanted to thrive. For her, life wasn't about waiting for opportunities. It was about creating them. After finishing her education, she set her sights on entrepreneurship. While many of her peers were chasing traditional jobs, Delicia was charting her own path. She believed in ownership, in building something that could not only provide for her family, but also leave behind a legacy. Her first major step into that dream was Royalty Financial Advisor, a business she built from the ground up. Specializing in tax preparation and financial services, the company quickly became a success. Clients praised her professionalism and dedication. For many in her community, she wasn't just a businesswoman. She was a trusted advisor, someone who helped them navigate the complicated world of finances with clarity and care. But Delicia wasn't done. With her ambition pushing her forward, she expanded her ventures into the trucking industry. It was a bold move, one that required significant investment, but she embraced it with confidence. And it paid off. Soon she was sharing her milestones proudly on social media, celebrating every new achievement, every hurdle she overcame. In one post, she reflected on how far she had come. She once dreamed of running a business from her laptop while sitting on the beach, and now she was doing it. That was Delicia, someone who didn't just dream, but made those dreams real. By late 2023, Delicia's life looked like the picture of success. She was raising 2 beautiful daughters, running multiple businesses, and living with a confidence that inspired everyone around her. But around this time, someone new came into her life. Someone who, on the surface, seemed like just another man trying to win her heart. His name was Ryan Phillips, a 33-year-old from St. Louis, Missouri, just like Delicia. On paper, he was charming, attentive, and charismatic. To some, he even appeared to be a man who had been through hardships and wanted a second chance at life. But beneath that surface was a very different story. Phillips had a dark past, one marked by violence, crime, and time behind bars. In 2014, he was charged after firing shots at police officers. By 2018, he had pled guilty and received a 10-year prison sentence. While locked away, he wasn't undergoing rehabilitation. Instead, prison hardened him. He was released on parole in 2021, carrying with him the weight of a criminal history and a dangerous mindset. But when he crossed paths with Delicia in Texas in late 2023, he presented himself differently. He wasn't Ryan the ex-convict. He was Ryan the man who claimed he wanted love, companionship, and a fresh start. To a woman like Delicia, who had a big heart and a deep belief in second chances, that was enough for her to give him an opportunity. At first, their relationship seemed promising. He showered her with attention, called her beautiful, and acted as though he truly valued her. For a single mother who had worked tirelessly for years, the idea of having someone stand beside her must have been comforting. Delicia wanted love like anyone else, and Ryan knew how to exploit that desire. But it didn't take long before the cracks began to show. The charm faded, and what replaced it was something far more sinister. Phillips became controlling and volatile. He wasn't simply protective, he was possessive. Arguments escalated into threats. Friends noticed his energy was off. Something about him didn't sit right. One friend described the relationship as toxic, with fights breaking out often. Delicia confided in those closest to her that Ryan had told her more than once that if she ever tried to leave him, he would kill her. It was a chilling warning, but like many victims of manipulation and control, she brushed it off, hoping things would get better. Her children's father also saw the danger early. He warned Delicia repeatedly about Ryan, reminding her that his energy was bad, that he wasn't safe to be around. But Delicia, ever the optimist, believed she could handle it. She thought she was strong enough, smart enough, and cautious enough to control the situation. She didn't know then that Ryan wasn't just another troubled man. He was a predator. And once he had his eyes on her, he wasn't going to let go. This relationship wasn't about love. It was about possession. To Ryan Phillips, Delicia wasn't a partner. She was something to control, something to own. And if she ever tried to leave, in his twisted mind, that would mean betrayal. And betrayal had consequences. What began as a whirlwind romance quickly transformed into a nightmare. For Delicia, Ryan's love was never truly love. It was control disguised as affection, obsession wrapped in promises. And as the months passed, the masks slipped more and more. Ryan Phillips began showing his true nature. He was manipulative, unpredictable, and violent. Delicia's friends noticed the shift in her energy. She was still smiling in public, still posting about her businesses, still playing the role of the strong, unshakable woman. But behind the scenes, her life was unraveling under Ryan's shadow. Phillips threatened her constantly. On multiple occasions, he told her point blank, "If you ever leave me, I'll kill you." These weren't empty words. Delicia knew what he was capable of. He had already broken into her home several times, violating her safety and showing that boundaries meant nothing to him. Still, like many women caught in abusive cycles, Delicia tried to rationalize it. She told herself it was love, that his obsession was proof of how much he cared. When Ryan claimed he had cancer, her compassionate heart couldn't let go. How could she abandon a sick man? Whether it was truth or manipulation, Ryan knew exactly how to pull her back in every time she tried to escape. But the people closest to Delicia weren't fooled. Her friends told her directly, "This isn't love, this is dangerous." They saw the bruises hidden behind makeup, the fear in her eyes, the excuses she made. And her daughter's father warned her repeatedly that Ryan's energy wasn't right. In one chilling text exchange, he practically predicted the tragedy to come. He told her that if their daughter ever called him crying because of Ryan, he would be on the news that same night. Delicia, still holding on to hope, replied that Ryan was simply a man who loved her deeply, flaws and all. She didn't realize at the time just how prophetic those warnings would turn out to be. Delicia's attempts to end the relationship were never simple. She tried breaking up with him in August 2024, after months of escalating tension. But Ryan wasn't the kind of man who accepted rejection. To him, her leaving wasn't just a breakup, it was betrayal. And betrayal demanded punishment. The cycle became terrifyingly predictable. Delicia would push him away, he would guilt her into staying. She would try to move on, and he would show up uninvited. He stalked her, harassed her, and made sure she never felt truly free. By early September 2024, Delicia was trying once again to cut ties with him. She had told friends she couldn't deal with his behavior anymore. But Ryan was watching. He always seemed to know where she was, who she was with, and what she was doing. It was as if he had her under constant surveillance. The final days of Delicia's life would reveal just how far Ryan was willing to go to make sure that if he couldn't have her, no one else would. And it all began with a terrifying, calculated act designed to erase her world, starting with her home. The first week of September 2024 began like any other. Delicia was balancing her roles as a mother, a businesswoman, and a friend. But beneath the surface, she was also trying to distance herself from Ryan Phillips once again. On the evening of September 4th, Delicia's teenage daughter grew worried. She hadn't seen her mother in hours. When she asked Ryan where her mom was, he told her that Delicia was asleep upstairs. It was a strange answer, but the teenager, still innocent enough to believe it, accepted his words. What she didn't know was that her mother's fate may have already been sealed. Over the next 2 days, Ryan kept up the charade. He drove Delicia's 13-year-old daughter to school in a rental car, pretending everything was normal. He acted as though Delicia was still at home, resting, when in reality, no one could reach her. Friends and family began to sense something was wrong. Delicia wasn't the type to go silent. She was active, lively, always connected. The silence was alarming. Then came September 6th, 2024, the day everything unraveled. At around 7:30 a.m., emergency crews were called to Delicia's home in Princeton, Texas. A fire was tearing through the property, flames engulfing the place she had built for herself and her daughters. When firefighters brought the blaze under control, they made a chilling discovery. Delicia was nowhere to be found. Her children were safe, but Delicia was missing. To her loved ones, the connection was immediate. This wasn't just a tragic house fire, this was something more sinister. Authorities agreed. Within hours, they launched a critical missing person alert. The investigation zeroed in quickly on one name: Ryan Phillips. He wasn't just a boyfriend, he was the man Delicia had been trying to leave, the man she had reported to police before, the man who had threatened her life repeatedly. Now, with her home destroyed and her whereabouts unknown, all signs pointed to him. Family members were frantic. They gave police everything they knew: her history with Ryan, the threats, the fear she had expressed in private. Detectives wasted no time. They entered her case into state and federal databases, flagging it as high risk. This wasn't a typical missing persons case. Time was running out. By that afternoon, the investigation made a breakthrough. Surveillance and license plate readers picked up a red Range Rover SUV linked to Ryan Phillips. It was spotted heading north, out of Texas, across state lines. Police feared the worst, that Delicia was inside that car, taken against her will. At 4 p.m., Texas authorities alerted their counterparts in Missouri. The vehicle was headed straight toward St. Louis, the city where both Ryan and Delicia had roots. It was a chilling full circle, as though Ryan was dragging her back to the place where everything began. Missouri State Highway Patrol was given the warning. Delicia was in danger, and Ryan Phillips was armed, unstable, and desperate. The manhunt had begun. And what unfolded next would play out like a scene from a nightmare, one that ended in a violent, irreversible tragedy. At approximately 5:30 p.m., the chase veered off Interstate 44 and into South Rock Hill Road, near Party Road, in St. Louis County. It was there that Phillips lost control. The SUV crashed violently, flipping over and coming to a halt. Neighbors described the scene as pure chaos, police swarming, shields raised, weapons drawn. In those tense moments, gunfire erupted. Witnesses heard between 10 and 15 shots. Officers later confirmed that Phillips had opened fire, forcing them to respond. When the smoke cleared, Ryan Phillips was dead. His final stand had ended in the very kind of violence that had defined his life. But the most horrifying discovery wasn't his body. It was who else was inside that SUV. As troopers approached the overturned vehicle, they found Delicia Evans, but she wasn't fighting. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't alive. Investigators would later conclude that Delicia had likely been dead long before the chase ever began. That meant for days Phillips had been driving around with her body in the car, even dropping her daughter off at school while pretending everything was normal. It was a revelation that stunned even seasoned detectives. The manhunt had ended, but not in rescue. It ended in heartbreak. For Delicia's family, the news was unbearable. The woman they loved so deeply, the mother of 2 daughters, the life of every gathering, was gone. Taken in the most brutal way possible by a man who believed that if he couldn't have her, no one would. The pursuit was over, but the real aftermath was just beginning. For her 2 daughters, just 13 and 4 years old, the loss was devastating. In a matter of days, their world had been ripped apart. Their home was gone, destroyed by fire. Their mother, their anchor, was gone too. The girls were left to start over with their father, the same man who had begged Delicia to stay away from Ryan, the man who had warned her again and again that danger was coming. At her memorial service, family and friends gathered to celebrate Delicia's life. Purple balloons floated into the sky in her honor, a tribute to the woman who had loved so deeply and lived so fully.
Oh, it was just amazing. Like, can't nobody say nothing bad about her. She was a very friendly, happy person. And she fell for that. He willed her back in by him guilt-tripping her with the cancer.
Brooke said loved ones are telling you and giving you that warning. Pay attention to it. No matter how you can see that good in that other person, but if everybody on the outside looking in can see and tell you, baby, walk away, walk away, walk away.
But amid the heartbreak, one voice stood out, her teenage daughter. Through tears, the young girl described her mother as a fighter, a woman who loved life and never backed down. She begged others not to ignore the warning signs of abuse, urging them to leave at the first strike, the first threat, the first red flag. Her words were raw, painful, and wise beyond her years. The community rallied to support Delicia's children. Fundraisers were organized, donations poured in, and strangers extended hands of kindness. Yet everyone knew no amount of money could ever replace a mother's love. As for Ryan Phillips, his story ended without redemption. A decade in prison hadn't reformed him. If anything, it made him more dangerous. Instead of choosing a new path, he chose destruction. Burning down homes, tearing apart families, and dragging Delicia into a tragedy she never deserved. Her story now stands as both a warning and a lesson. A warning that abuse is not love, that threats should always be taken seriously, that obsession is not affection, and a lesson that if someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. For Delicia Evans, life was about joy, family, and building a legacy. She was a mother, a daughter, a friend, and a dreamer. And while her life was cut short, her story continues to echo. Through her children, through her family, through every person who now sees the signs a little clearer because of what happened to her. As we close this chapter, we remember not just how she died, but how she lived. Her laughter, her generosity, her unstoppable drive. If this story left you reflecting on the warning signs of toxic relationships, or if you want to make sure you never miss another gripping true crime story like Delicia's, make sure you subscribe to 24/7 True Crime Chronicles and hit that notification bell. By doing that, you'll join a community that uncovers the full stories behind real crimes while helping others learn and stay safe.